The following preview has been rated good by the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. Please check out the full episode when it releases on Sunday. Having saved the tribe who left, having saved the Scottish from the English. This summer, Mel Gibson returns to save the Americans from the English yet again, and the American Revolution, the Patriot, the American Braveheart.
It is truly the American Braveheart.
I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And we are finally at the end of our second arc of kind of comparing Braveheart and Patriot, but not really. Just
Mel Gibson, a look at Mel Gibson in general.
Yeah,
we've seen him at his early ages and unhinged with our desert craziness.
Well, you haven't seen Rampage yet, so...
That's true. I haven't seen Rampage yet.
Or Payback, that's what it is.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. But a huge part of the reason that we were influenced to look at Mel Gibson at all is because my dear sweet husband cannot for the life of him keep his different movies separate in his head.
Sometimes.
A lot more than he's willing to admit in front of y'all. Because while he made that mistake in front of you guys, on multiple occasions while doing research for this, if it is a young Mel Gibson, he doesn't necessarily recognize him. Mm-hmm. And if it is an older Mel Gibson, he doesn't recognize what movie it is.
Well, to be fair,
they are all very similar.
Mel Gibson doesn't look that much different for like 20, 30 years of his career.
This is true. The man did not age for a little while there.
Yeah. And so I kind of wish I had kept the memory of the Patriot in my mind from what it was.
Same, because like we both watched this not necessarily like right when it came out, but like early enough that we were still early in this like exploration of movies, and specifically war-based movies.
Yeah.
And now that I have a lot more experience with both bad and good war movies of all sorts. Mm-hmm. And also having to go back and like think about these movies critically. Unfortunately, I don't think Patriot withstands a critical watch.
No, I don't think so either. I mean,
which is kind of disappointing because I remember liking this movie and like thinking, wow, that was a great movie. I am not surprised it like was up for awards.
Yeah, I think it's interesting from a historical watch for the historical accuracy of everything around the story.
I completely agree. I also think it's very interesting. Like, this is a very clear snapshot in America film history that tells a very clear story of like what America was like at this time.
Yeah.
Very like overly patriotic, like aware of history, but still very much covering up the uncomfortable parts. A lot of romanticism to go along with war, as opposed to just being very upfront with like, no, war, horrible. Ex-nay the romance parts.
Yeah.
But this movie, there is a lot that this movie did do well. Like, it looks great. Music sounds awesome. Don't remember any of it, but it looks good.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is it's a good popcorn movie for that era, but it's just not worth doing the deep dive that we did towards it.
No, I don't think it is. However, like, it is very interesting to compare this with other Mel Gibson films, because there's a huge like similarity between his films.
Yeah.
Granted, I do think this one is one of his better ones because like his acting's good.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I don't like about this movie, but the acting's not one of them.
Well, yeah, that's the good part, is like everyone's acting in this is good. I mean, hell, Heath Ledger's great in this movie.
Very
for
true.
His actually relatively minimal part, now that we think about it.
Yeah, but on top of that, that's part of like our criticism is like there are so many characters, and honestly the only one I like remember parts of the movie for is Heath Ledger's character and Mel Gibson's character.
Yeah, it's a bunch of it basically how we've broken Braveheart, or not Braveheart, the Patriot down is the Patriot is two parallel paths of old and revenge against or old and young on a revenge story.
Yes.
With 20 little filler arcs that don't do shit. It's
yeah, unfortunately.
It is kind of like anime a little bit, where it's like
we've squished all the filler episodes into one.
Yeah, exactly. And we've abridged the filler episodes into like 3 minutes a piece.
Do you remember back in 90s and early 2000s the movies that would come out about an anime that had a long arc? And instead of doing its own different thing for the movie, they would just try and condense down like 20 episodes.
I do have, I think, 3 or 4 of those in my DVD collection right now.
Beautiful.
I will not say specifically which one, though.
I understand. The one I'm specifically thinking about is Inuyasha was really bad about this. They come out with a movie, but it didn't necessarily add anything new. They would just like cram all the previous knowledge in a slightly different format.
Yeah, give it that little zhuzh that they thought, okay, we can remove this thing or we can remove that. Actually, they're doing it with with like the first couple Neon Genesis Evangelion reboots.
That is, I mean, we haven't left that era of anime history yet. We have moved on to like retelling with live action, which is its own problem.
Oh, well,
but like this movie, despite not having like previous sources to cram together, has the same problem as those, and it's just too much all at once. However, from a memory standpoint, like the parts that stand out to me are really great.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and even the parts that are like the horror parts of it are still solid.
I honestly think that like I remember the horror parts being more dramatic and gory than they actually were, which is honestly good for the movie. Like that's a really great like show that they've managed to like make me think it was worse than it was.
Yeah, and it's a way to use like realism for a younger audience that's acceptable compared to some other movies.
Yeah, and like honestly, like we talked about in the full episode, it works better. Like, the scenes that work the best are the ones that don't show everything. Both, like, the battle scenes, some of the, like, interactions between the romance characters, the death scenes. Those ones don't show everything. They don't show the full dialogue. They don't show the full death. And those are the ones that work the best. And this movie does those great. It just surrounds them with a bunch of fluff.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly the most we bitch about in the movie, and also the creepy love.
Yeah, I had forgotten, like, I honestly forgot Benjamin had a love arc in this film.
I did too.
Because Heath Ledger's young puppy love is, and I had also forgotten that Heath Ledger's character, like, gets married and then dies.
Yeah.
Like, I had gotten that whole, like, timeline messed up in my head, but honestly, that was the story that was more compelling and better written, I think, because it was shown less.
Yeah, well...
Like, we were given just enough to make their characters feel like they actually knew each other and liked each other.
Yeah.
But they weren't, like, deep diving into their personal history on, like, we eat apples the same. We should get married.
Yeah, ultimately, it feels kind of like just another side arc that doesn't...
It really doesn't go anywhere because he dead.
Yeah, so...
I mean, like, that doesn't necessarily end a reason to have an arc, but, like, because there was so many people, that portion was so short. Not necessarily done wrong, but like there's just so much in this movie.
Yeah, it is unfortunately a bummer going back to this one.
It is. However, I will give it praise for doing a better job than Braveheart as far as history wise. They took real events and then put fake people in them.
True.
So, and also, like, they condensed and made sure their time frame was at least closer. So that way, like, it's wrong, but it's not so blaringly wrong.
Yeah, so blaringly wrong that you just shit on the director of the whole movie.
Exactly. Like, it's wrong, but it's intentionally wrong.
Writer.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that worked really well. And the attention to detail in the background for most things is really good. The housing looks good. The sets look good. The attention to details like the lighting, wonderful. Love it. It's just a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird previews.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.